Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video, I'm going to be answering a question that comes up more and more frequently, and that is how to hardwire a stepper motor to spin backwards. I'm also going to be covering why you'd want to do that. Now, I've got two steppers here for visual representation, and for those guys that are working with Y-axis configurations where they're supporting dual motors, this is imperative information, especially if the motors are facing one another like you see here. I'm going to move now over to my VinylMaster software to give you more of a whiteboard presentation of how to wire these in a hardwired configuration, meaning you're manually going to wire them in a configuration to support spinning one of these motors backwards. So stay tuned.
Wiring a stepper motor to spin backwards. Now, for those guys out there that are running a slave Y-axis motor configuration where they have a motor mounted on the left side of their Y-axis and another motor mounted on the right side of their Y-axis facing the left motor, you're going to find that those motors will fight one another if one of the motors is not hardwired to spin in reverse. So what we want to do first is really identify why we can't go into the software and just simply reverse that axis. Well, for example, if you have a slave Y-axis configured where you're utilizing your A axis that's available on, let's say, a G540 to be tied into your Y, when those two channels are joined, if you did decide to go into Mach 3, you would find that if you try to reverse the axis, it's essentially just going to create the same problem again, just with the motor spinning in reverse on the opposite side. So again, problem's still there. You're not achieving anything. What we have to do is once again hardwire a single motor. Very simple to do. First thing we want to pay attention to is we're only going to match the motor coil polarities only. Okay? You want to disregard the motor lead colors. And why I say that all the time, I get questions on it all the time, is because the motor manufacturers may use different colors leads on their motors. They mean nothing. It's arbitrary. What matters is our coil polarities. Okay, and I would say 90% of most motors are bipolar, in which they have 4 actual leads. And what you're going to find is there's an A+, A-, B+, and B-. Okay, and how this configuration will work essentially is we want to reverse the coil setup. So what we want to do is take our A+ and we're going to reverse this motor to B+, and we'll match those two together. And then A- will go to B-, and B+ will go to A+, and B- will go to A-. So let's just hypothetically say for a G540, wiring its DB9 connector, regardless of its solderless connector or a male type solder type connector, your standard wiring configuration would be pin 6 B-, pin 7 B+, pin 8 A-, and pin 9 A+. In a reversed wiring configuration, pin 6 would be A-, because once again we're switching B- to A-, and then pin 7 would be A+, once again we're switching B+ to A+. And then pin 8 would be B-, and pin 9 would be B+. And all we're doing is, again, we're switching those coils from A to B. So we're matching the same polarity, but we're switching the actual coil. So once again, A- to B-, A+ to B+, and you guys will be in business. Again, there are many times that you may want to reverse a motor by hardwiring it. Some guys, if they're not using Mach 3 and don't have the reversal option, this is one way to go. If you did ever wire a motor incorrectly, for instance, and you had it running in reverse, this has happened many times to, again, many different users, I'm sure. I've had end clients have this happen quite often. You just would have to reverse your wiring if, again, you went to reverse it in the software and you found you were getting nowhere. This way is a definitive way to get the motor to spin in the direction you really want it to. So whether you're using Linux or, again, other motion control software, this way is a definitive way to control the motors regardless of what availability of options you have in your particular software. So again, guys, I hope the video has been helpful. If you are using a slave Y-axis where the motors are not facing one another, typically you will not need to do this. So just keep that in mind. It's only for axes that are where the motors are actually facing one another, like I did in the beginning of the video. So again, guys, if you have any questions or require quotes, please message me direct at storm2313@gmail.com. It's been quite some time since I've been able to do a video. I've been very, very busy at the shop. I'll answer all emails and questions, of course, as time permits. To all my subscribers, I love you guys. Thank you again. Take care, and please be